you're really being forced to continue to buy more hardware just to keep up with the demand. But if you really truly look at that hardware, you'll find that the majority of it is vastly underutilized. Even though someone says, well, my email's running slow, or my database isn't, I don't have a response fast enough coming back. We all realize that where that is coming from in some cases, in 9 times out of 10, it's not coming from the server. It's either the user or it's something that's happening on their PC or whatever. So really what's happening is that the net effect of all of this is that huge numbers of servers are causing a real estate problem. I mean, in all reality, you are running out of space in your data center. So when you have that, then you start dealing with other things that are impacting why virtualization is so important, and that's the high cost of energy. The cost of running computers today is even more so expensive than it was in the past. And that's kind of changing if you think about it. I mean, there's a lot of companies right now that are building green computers, so they're taking less wattage to run. I mean, even the WISE terminals that we put on desktops right now run at 7 watts versus a standard PC, which is at 85 and 90 watts. I mean, that's an amazing amount of utilization that you're not having to pay for, but you still get the same kind of performance and the same kind of attitude of a PC with 1/10 of the cost. So you also are finding that you also have cooling costs and flexible power spending cycles that are now being implemented by the power companies. Once again, you have low utilization rates, but that means that you still have a lot of servers that are still on. They're not being used to their fullest capacity, but they are utilizing energy, and you're having to cool them, and you also have the storage that goes along with them. So keep that in mind as you go. Trend number 4 has really been around system administration costs. Higher system administration costs are really also going up and up and up. As technology advances, you have people who have more information, and they just flat out cost you more. And the problem is that computers don't operate on their own. Every server requires the care and feeding by a system administrator. And all of those things are running in a daily environment, which is patching operating systems, applications, replacing defective hardware components, backups, et cetera, et cetera. So when I say you're patching operating systems and you're patching applications, et cetera, how does that work in a virtualized environment is that instead of having to go and touch each individual server, and so if you have 30 or 40 in each data center, you have to physically go to each 30 or 40, or use something to push up the patches and whatnot in an application. But it still costs you time, it still costs you money, etc. In a virtualized environment, that goes away, and you'll see how in just a few minutes. So, really, I mean, what's the answer today? I'm not going to give it all to you today. As we said, this is a series. We're going to dive down deeper as we go along with all of this. We'd have you here on this phone for probably neighborhood of 3 hours if we wanted to break down all of virtualization in one lump sum. And I don't know about you, but you guys probably have more to do than that than listen to me for 3 hours. I know my wife says the same thing all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you pretty much a taste of what's going on. So this is what server virtualization looks like. Before, we saw one machine, one operating system, one application. Another machine, separate, still on the network, still able to share data in a lot of cases, but it's single operating system, single application, all the stuff that goes along with it. All of it utilizing power, all of it utilizing space in your data center, et cetera, et cetera. What server virtualization now is doing is it's allowing you to take one computer, okay? So if you remember Moore's law that we talked about how you can get 4 times as much computing power than you could 3 months ago, well, that's what's happening, and this is why server virtualization is really starting to take hold. A single computer or a server can be split up to become multiple computers on the same server running different operating systems, different applications, different databases, etc. Now, before was a liability due to underutilization is now becoming an asset for your company. And how so? What are you talking about, here? Well, now you're able to run multiple applications and services on the same computer at the same time. Now, when this begins to happen, you're now taking full advantage of the processing power of the computer or the server for the very, very first time. You truly begin to see a return on that asset versus not being utilized to its fullest capacity. So let's look at this. Before, once again, one computer, one application. Now you have a single server. You now put a hypervisor in there, which is a layer of software that allows you to create like a container so that you can have a separate operating system, and where each one of those blocks that says operating system, that could be Windows Server 2008, it could be Linux, it could be Unix, it could be whatever you want. And what it's going to allow you to do is to now be able to run applications based upon what the requirements are on a single machine. So you have the appropriate amount of RAM, disk space, etc., to be able to allocate to each one of those operating systems and each one of those applications. But at the end of the day, you're now reducing a lot of things that are taking place within the data center itself. You're reducing the number of servers or the footprint within your data center, the amount of electricity that's being utilized. And it goes on and on and on. So I really am looking at having all of your eggs in one basket: Oracle, Exchange, SQL Server, Microsoft Office. It can all be running on just a single server. And in a sense, it's all on one virtualized server. So now that we've kind of explained a little bit about what server virtualization is about, let's go back and take a look at the 4 trends to see how this can be resolved with virtualization. So if we go back to the first one and we say, all right, our hardware is underutilized. Well, once again, a single computer can be split up to become multiple computers. So now we're actually utilizing 100% of the CPU power. We're spreading the usage across 4, 5, 6 cores, and each core could have 12 CPUs within each one of those. I mean, it's an amazing time that we're living in right now that we have as much computing power that we do, so virtualization just flat out makes sense. If you also look at before, once again, that liability of underutilization is now becoming an asset to you because it's now applying all the applications that you had ready before in one single system. So let me go back here real quickly also. I just had one thought here that I wanted to also stress. All right, so once you do have hardware that is underutilized, you're now able to go ahead and take a lot of the different systems that you do have today and combine them into one footprint. And then each one of those footprints can then be considered either in a failover mode, so you could have several virtual servers that if, God forbid, one of them falls by the wayside, the other one would automatically pick up those resources, and the user experience is really not going to know what's going on. They may have to log in, log out, depending upon how you have this originally set up. But the whole idea is that you can have that failover for your desktops, for your applications, and et cetera, and for your databases as well. So let's take a look at also now data centers are running out of space. Yeah, you're definitely running out of space. Using a virtualized environment means less servers to handle. So before, if you had 50 or 60 servers that are sitting in your data center, some of you may only have 10, 20, you can now cut those back to 2, 3. I have one customer right now who is currently has 4 racks within in a colo location. And since he uses a colo, of course, he has expenses that has to go to each one of those different racks. Well, he's finally realized virtualization is now the way to go, to where he can now virtualize just one full rack and reduce his cost down by almost 70%. One full rack of virtualized servers can do all the jobs of 4 racks of servers before. That's huge, and that's not only a huge savings to him, but it's also a huge savings to his tech support